Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Adam White. I have with me Zoe Hawkins and David Girvin. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Today, we're excited to talk to you about the 2025 Sumo Logic Security Operations Insights Report. We've got some interesting things to discuss that came out of the report that I think will be relevant across all kinds of disciplines and to all kinds of people. And yeah, it should be a fun conversation.
I'm looking forward to it. This is
Yeah.
this is a great report. I'm sorry there's so many words in the title. I mean, we cut out as many as we could, but as you're saying it, I was like, there's really too many words there.
It's just the nature of things.
Marketing.
I know. I
Marketing.
can't help it. I can't help it. It had a much snazzier name at the start, actually. We originally just referred to it as State of Sim. But it was one of those things where when we actually did the survey and started asking questions, it went so much beyond just Sim that then it was like, it's security operations. And then we need insights. And then we need the year. And then we need our name. And before you know it, it's like those kids who never get to go to recess in first grade because they're still writing their first name. I'm sorry.
I
It's
think it
inclusive of everyone, though. That's good. Everyone can
Yeah.
get something out of it, which is nice.
Indeed, indeed.
we could have
Awesome.
just named it David Hates Security, and then it would have been
I
perfect.
mean, but then everything would be called that, and it'd be really hard
Everything
to
should be
find.
called that.
It's in
That's true. This
parentheses.
is true.
Yeah. It's there at
Yes,
the end.
yes. I'll make sure to add that to like descriptions of every article ever.
Right.
Pass that
Well,
on
Zoe, I
the
know there were
chain.
I'm sorry. I know there were some fun takeaways, from this that we wanted to talk through. I mean, this one thing in reading through this is the statistics just kind of kept popping out, and I think they're again going to be super relevant to people. Are there any kind of headlines, highlights, things that you particularly were interested in?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to User Evidence. They did a great job supporting us with this survey. So they kind of fed us so much data. It was kind of a delight picking and choosing, which stats we really wanted to hone in on. So the first one I'll start with kind of is the headline on that page. 75% of security leaders. So we surveyed CISOs, VPs, senior leaders in the security organizations are considering alternative SIM solutions. Now, this isn't just they don't want a SIM anymore. This is like
Yeah.
they want a different SIM, they want SIM Plus, they want other things. So that one jumped out at me that like three-quarters of people just don't think what they have right now is cutting it. They're looking at alternatives. I don't know. I don't
Like
know what you all
sim
think.
sim FOMO kind of like yeah,
Maybe,
what's out
maybe.
there?
I don't know.
I blame marketing.
Oh,
Just gonna
thanks.
throw
I'll
that one
take
out
it. Give
there.
it. I mean, you're in marketing now too.
You're
Don't
in
tease.
marketing, David.
Yeah, I guess
I
so.
know. We brought you to the dark side, but why? Why am I to blame? Tell me.
I think it's what Adam said. There's that FOMO. It's I threw a thumbs up
There you go.
somehow. It's that FOMO where it's like you see all the marketing and you're like, oh wow, it does that, and we all know it's mostly BS because we were all at RSA, and every cool new thing that was supposed to be amazing was not in a live thing that you could play with. It was on some sparkle reel flying
But the
across the
boots are
screen.
so shiny,
They're
David.
so
I know.
shiny and they have great swag.
I know, and they make you t-shirts and it's a good time.
It
I'm
is.
I'm not immune to it. I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely when I would buy software for my team, I went through the exact same thing. I'd buy something and then I'd read something from some analyst or something along the line, be like, "Oh, I made the wrong decision because this one could do this." Little did I know that they didn't work with the product either hands-on, and it's a giant flaming dumpster fire as well. Just vying for different dumpster fires.
I
Oh,
think so much of that, David, like you already have something. I mean, the question is really like, is the problem that something else out in the market is better, or is it that you may not be taking full advantage of what you already have and kind of understanding the depth to which you can take an existing solution? Because the pain
Biggest
of change is not a factor. You can have FOMO all you want, but you still have to like rip and replace. So
two things with that. So when I was on the sales side, so many times when we're going through the sales cycle and selling Sumo, we're like, "Well, what's wrong with your sim now?" Because we're trying to like sell the value, right? And they don't have it hooked up. They have like the 7 things from their POV, and then they never touched it again until the auditors came. And they went, "Oh shit, I gotta find some logs in here," and then they don't know how to use it, and they're angry at it. And I get it. You got a lot going on a
It
security team.
does work better when you have things connected to it,
Have you tried
for
turning
sure.
it, not even off and on? Have
Have
you
you
tried
sure?
turning it
Right.
on?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a brutal one, but on my consulting side, like all the companies I've helped build security teams over the years, the when I would draw out these plans, I wouldn't just give them like most like security consultants will be like, you need to buy an EDR, and then you need email protection, and then you need a SIM, and like they just give you a list of crap to buy. But I actually used to draw this out in a real detailed way. And I'd space it out, and they'd always like, no, we need everything now. I'm like, no, you don't, because you're not going to use it. You have 5 people on your security team, or 3. You're not going to be able to do anything. So we're going to get, let's say, a SIM. We're going to get a SIM. It's going to take us this many months to get it. And then we have a maturity program before we buy another security tool. So you are going to need to spend the next 3 to 6 months threat modeling your environment, figuring out what logs you have, what your attack surface looks like, and what you can use in that SIM or whatever the tool is. It doesn't have, I mean, most of mine was AppSec, but I do some SIM stuff here and there with it. Um, and then if you follow that plan, then you actually have a working environment, and hopefully you have customer support and you're like, doing your quarterly meetups or whatever. And then you move to your next tool. So you've actually got one up and running, and hopefully it's kind of semi hands off. You're not having to like put fires out every day with it. But that's not what people do.
It's just too easy and like oddly encouraged to take the peanut butter approach in security, where you have, maybe great breadth across the
The
what's that?
peanut butter approach.
Yeah, you're
I
just
get
Spread
spreading
it
it,
all
just
around.
spreading apps and software across everything. And so you've got a lot of breadth, but you have no depth in any area. And I mean, to your point, David, like that maturity model makes a lot of sense of saying like there are gates in our maturity approach, and we have to get to a certain level of maturity with, say, a SIM before we move on to these other areas, because the SIM will only be effective, or any solution really will only be effective if it's kind of adjacent technologies are working in some level of depth as well.
Yeah. Let me tell you a dirty little secret though. So, I've gone on a
So
few,
ready for this.
I'm
tirades
so
about
excited and afraid.
the higher you move up the ladder, the more you have to cover your ass, right? And one dirty little secret is there's turnover in security teams.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to try to like put your foot down when you enter a security team, and this happens constantly, is they go, "Who was the idiot that bought this? This is a joke." And they throw their little fake fit and get all opinionated and push their glasses up. And they go, "We need this one because it's that much better." And like, at least when it came to AppSec tooling 5 years ago, they were all a giant pile of crap. So everybody did that and was like, we have all these
Yeah.
false alerts and blah, blah, blah. And it's, no one
Yeah.
wants to admit it in security, but they all do it because they're trying
Well,
to
it's
like
just,
put their little flag into the ground.
yeah, I was going to say, like, kind of put a stamp on the organization, and booting some software product, is can be a part of that. So
But I
yeah,
feel
those things
yeah,
are real for sure.
they are. And I think it ties back to another thing that jumped out at me from the report. So, one of the other things that spurs people on in terms of this evaluation of like, hey, we need an alternative, we need something different, all of that, is this idea of pace of innovation. And so, to your
Mm.
point, David, like 5 years ago, all the tools were whatever they were, at a different level in their own maturity model. And so, you might say like, okay, well, this tool innovated and got better, and this one is a good one now, and this one not so much, and all of that. But also like threats are evolving, obviously like I find it really just psychologically interesting to be like, what part of this is social engineering, what part of this is tech and hacking and stuff like that. That to me is always really intriguing from like a security perspective. But in terms of like pace of innovation and can the tools keep up with these emerging threats, that was one of the things that these security leaders called out. And I wonder how much of it is also tied to like, well, this old tool that previous leader bought is now out of date and you need the new shiny tool to fix things.
Perception
Or
that if you didn't bring it in, it's out
It's
of
old.
touch with, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the other part of it is a lack of security so big, a lack of depth of knowledge.
The peanut
So
butter? Are we back to peanut
we're
butter?
back to peanut butter. It's
Okay.
that same thing though. It's like I don't really know what's good, so I have to trust other people to pick what's good. And then there's that like hard thing, leadership is tricky. But I think you mentioned something there. I mean, the reason I'm on the marketing team is because this is the greatest social engineers. I thought being physical pen tester and breaking into banks was going to make me a good social engineer, and then I was like, oh, marketers, they're the best at this. Um, but they're everybody's building that like pace of innovation, right? They're like, oh, your tools are out of date. But like, are they? Because most maturity levels for security teams are not keeping up with technology because it's a
Mm.
hard thing to do. You have to have good leaders, you have to have good processes in place, and you have to actually social engineer security culture before you can get anything moving.
Yeah, and people who really understand the threat landscape and aren't just, kind of making software and its maturity in the organization just kind of a compliance checkbox. Like you really have to kind of dig in yourself on that front and make sure that you as an organization are keeping up with the threats and that your tools likewise are. It's kind of a dance, there, and it's not really one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to your point about just how vast it is, like I was looking at, just kind of the show floor for RSA, the show floor for Black Hat. And it's funny because you see like there's a bajillion vendors out there, right? So you imagine you're a security leader and you're getting now cold emails, outreach emails from, a bajillion vendors being like, I saw you came to RSA. Do you need this? Do you need that? And like my mind goes to, well, are all of these direct, like, are these partners, are these competitors? Like security is such a wide thing that, I'll talk to some of my own vendors and they're like, I want to send you an example from this other company, but they're also cybersecurity. Are they a competitor? And I'm like, probably not. Like cybersecurity is so big. We're
Yeah.
not, we're not everything you need in cybersecurity. Like you still need, your email, you still need your firewall, you still need your login protect. Like there's
Yeah.
so many different, SSO, whatever it might be. Like there's so many pieces of it that are related to what we do, but aren't actually competing with what, like it's
And
partner or integration more than something
Yeah,
else.
right.
and we complement those things. That's the deal is everything has logs, right? Like so kind of with that pace of innovation thing,
Mm.
one of the things like when most people mention SIM, they
Mm-hmm.
think of a log aggregation tool. And that's because they think of SIM from 6 years ago. When we internally say SIM, we think of our correlation engine with incident response stuff kind of setting up and now with all the agentic stuff we're building. But most people don't think that in their head. They think of like the what we call core platform or whatever. Like they think of going in, writing a query, looking at logs, running a rule, that kind of stuff. And everything keeps changing so fast and the terminology changes. So like I feel like just baselining with whoever the salesperson you're talking to is being like, give me definitions of what you're talking about. Because I used to do that all the time because we'd have smaller companies come up that aren't necessarily ready for a correlation engine. They don't have enough data coming in. And you're like, dude, you don't need that. Like, this is all you need. You need core platform with some built-in, we'll build some custom rules for you, what your use case is. But yeah, that's what we actually just need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think defining terms is such a big thing as well. Like, even, I think about, we talk about pace of innovation and, we have an article. I think, David, you actually helped us with it again most recently. And, it was originally written a few years ago as like, what is AI versus ML? And then it became like, okay, well, what is AI versus ML versus Gen AI? And now we have to layer in agentic AI. Like, the pace of innovation now, I keep hearing words and everything is an alphabet soup where it's like, no, now you need a reg and a MCP and a, like, just pick some letters and throw them together and
I
confuse
was
me
just gonna
even
say,
more.
like
Like
MCP in the past month or 2 months, maybe, I hear MCP and MCP2 like daily.
daily.
And it was a little more peripheral before that. Yeah, so things like the onslaught of like how this, everything is maturing is kind of dizzying. And so I get where people, can suffer from that. Not
Yeah. And
but
fun fact, like
everyone.
literally,
Yeah.
literally my husband came home from like a work event yesterday and was like, yeah, we got to start looking at MCP. And I'm like, don't forget MCP too. And he's like,
Yeah.
what is it? Come
wrapping my head around. Yeah. I know
on.
we could spin up David for like an hour on this topic.
I know, but I mean, go ahead, David, and then go.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, like, there's probably someone in the company that knows this stuff, like, right? So what did I do internally? I wrote us AppSec dev policies for agentic MCP, MCP2, how to implement those, what the kind of attacks actually look like.
Mm.
And then I built an enablement doc, like what is MCP versus MCP2 for like internal salespeople and stuff like that. So I think you need to figure out as a leader who's a nerd in this space. And if you don't have that person, then you need to find like a partner to deal with, either, a
Yeah.
value-added reseller, an AI security consultant, something, because you do kind of need to stay on top of this because it's really hard to sort through the BS because things are moving so fast.
Well, and this is something as well. So my brain goes in two directions on this. So on the one hand, we've talked about emerging threats and you go like, "Oh my gosh, with AI, like phishing emails can become better because they aren't written like actual garbage. Like they can sound almost like a person without grammar mistakes, stuff like that." So on the one hand, you have like AI can make the threats more mature and also like you can use AI to hide the threat inside a file. Like there it gets really, really challenging and exciting and terrifying very quickly. And at the same time, to your original point, David, like a lot of these teams are barely scratching the maturity model surface, like are barely even having tools in place that are turned on. And so the attackers don't need to jump to using AI to make their threats smarter, stronger, better, faster, whatever. They can still use like the original threats and be successful a good amount of the time.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things as well that I grapple with of kind of like, oh my gosh, AI is going to change everything, but also like, does it even need to if what you're working with already is working so often, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that takes us back to, I'm obviously the fatalist when it comes to security here, but, we're $100 billion later and we're not really that much safer. And I think it's partially to blame on security companies in general for productization instead of just getting solutions done because they have to make money. So you have people like productizing everything. That's why I'm like, security is observability, observability is
Mm.
security. We're just doing incident response. Like no one wants to listen to Dave. But that kind of stuff is partially to blame. The other side of it is it's hard to get buy-in from the rest of the company to mature your program, to get budget, and those kind of things. It takes a special kind of leader that's more of a bridge builder than in what people think. I feel like a lot of times people hire CISOs because they can manage up really well to the board. But if they're not a really good bridge builder, they're not going to implement security culture. And so a lot of it's actually the legwork. So it's not even the tooling. You can get by with some pretty basic tooling to actually cover like 90%, 95% of all kind of exploits. But you have to do it as a company whole, as
Mm.
opposed to being a little island, a little security team off in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, and ultimately, you talk about a little island off in the corner. I mean, it's also often a resourcing situation. I mean, even in these very large companies that we talk to, the security teams are often terrifyingly small. When I'm like, oh, there's three of you defending everything? Okay, okay, like good job, good job. And so I guess that's also, coming back to the report and one of the findings, they said that 90% of these leaders are thinking about AI or feel AI is really important in their decision. And you can understand, like, they don't have people, so they need fake people. They need the AI, to kind of fill in some of those gaps. They need, whether it's an agent or a tool that makes their people go faster. But I mean, Adam, you and I have talked about this a bunch around like, I've called it AI washing. You have an even better term around it, around like vendors in this space that claim they have AI and maybe don't. And ultimately, if you're a leader who has a very small team and is trying to make the most of the tools and the AI
Yeah.
options, like this can be pretty daunting.
Yeah. So AI catfishing
I
is
love it.
is what
I
I
love
yeah. And it's really just the idea that like what is real about what you see in this space. We were talking about RSA and the beautiful booths and the big claims, and it's kind of like, all right, what's the actual value that's being delivered versus kind of like the words and the, the hand waving that can happen in software. But it's kind of an interesting thing with that dynamic too that you mentioned, Zoe, of like teams being so small. It's kind of even more important now that you actually have people who are practitioners and understand the threat landscape coupled with AI, because it can't, you can't just be like the kid who's writing a term paper in AI at the last minute. That's not going to get you a very good result. Like, you can't lean only on AI. You have to apply your own brain power, your own experience, and kind of the human side of things to get the most out of AI. Like, AI can absolutely be a force multiplier, but it still requires good, solid people and a good foundation to make the most of it. Besides all of the AI catfishing that's going on out there of like what's actually real and what's going to provide value, or just, is kind of a checkbox like we've been talking about some. So
You know what? It kind of, when I came to this position, which I have a weird job, right? Like I get to work with product and work with marketing and work with sales, and I kind of have a lot of leeway since Adam's my boss, so I can float around and do whatever I need to
the
do.
job is floating around.
It is my that is my job. But it made me realize, like, especially in the AppSec world with all the like all the massive amounts of things you're supposed to sort through every day, and it's the same in the SOC world. Security people turn over at a pretty massive rate because they get burnt out. They get burnt out because they don't get to do what they want. No one's like in security because they're like, I want to triage alerts all day. Like, you know what I mean? So some of the
If you
stuff
can
that we're
find those
working on,
people, hire them.
yeah, some of the stuff we're working on now, I've been really opinionated about the direction we need to go, as well as our like field CTOs and some other people in the company that were security people. And I think I didn't realize why I was so adamant, like in meetings about some of this stuff, but it's because there's so many people that are doing those jobs that hate their job that could enjoy their job with a good force multiplier. They're smart security people and they're stuck doing, triage all day, crappy, looking up all that kind of stuff. And I think it'll free up people to do real good security work, which they might actually enjoy, making their business safer and working with people, interdepartment stuff. But also it kind of wraps back around to, like you said, AI is not going to fix everything. You still have to be a good security person. And not only that, there might be some people building some faster or stronger, more mature AI than we're at right now and those kind of things. But from what I'm seeing, and I'm not even talking about SIM necessarily, I'm talking about across the industry, they're slapping it on dog shit products. So building a good AI agent and then putting it on, even if it was a SIM that can't do anything, is not going to fix your day. It's going to make a SIM that already suck faster.
And it will give you a false sense of security. Also, I mean, I think that's kind of part of AI as well that we just need to be cognizant of as we go forward, is like, just because something has AI doesn't mean that you can like take your hands off the wheel. Like, you still have to drive the car, or whatever the analogy is, and make sure that you're using it properly, and not just kind of like, oh, well, we're good now.
Well, that's the dirty little secret no one wants to talk about. Another one.
Another one?
Another one is accuracy rate for LLM models is pretty good with RAG, and everyone's like RAG's dead. Now RAG's coming back and blah blah blah. We're tuning and doing all this kind of stuff. And we've gone through all this kind of stuff recently in Sumo trying to make sure we're getting, you won't be able to take the hands off the wheel. It will be man in the middle until we start training on data. And nobody wants to deal with that right now. And I think we're a couple years out from that, but it's going to become the norm, because what's going to happen is you're going to need a higher accuracy rate in the future, and you're not going to want to have man in the middle. You're going to want to have fully automated processes that don't need to be babied. And the only way to do that is to train on your data. But it's going to be this huge industry like, oh no, how is this going to happen? And I'm already
Well,
ready
but I
for
mean,
it.
it's also I find it super cool because we've been saying for a long time that like the Sumo Logic core platform, like, just give us all your logs, just give us that data. And then the way that we're able to train our tooling on it, even as it is right now, even without, a full agentic workflow that, you just hand it off to all of your AI minions and they handle everything. But that, even just saying like, okay, now all the logs are in there. Now I know my rules have already been, historic baseline. Like I can
Yeah.
get up and running right away because you already have all my data. Like I don't have to wait for the sim to get smart. Like it already has this huge knowledge base to learn from of all of my log data. And I think that's something that I find super cool about, just the way that, to your point earlier, like if you build AI on top of something that's just innately smart and has the right information, it's going to get smarter. If you build AI to train off of, the cesspit of humanity, that's how you end up with some of these terrible AI experiments that we see out in the wild, like
That's why AI is so emotional right now. But just to clarify for anybody that listens to this, Sumo is not training off your data.
no.
We were not doing that. We do have really good machine learning. The historical baselining for UEBA rules and that kind of stuff is really useful. But that's just good security tooling. That's not agentic, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I also always struggle. I call it Yuba. You call it UEBA. I feel like.
No, I do. I call it Yuba too.
I
Do
fight that every
you?
day.
Oh yeah, I call it Yuba until I have to be somewhat professional, but I push
Oh.
back. I think it should be called Yuba.
I think we should just embrace Yuba because
We
Yuba
have too many
best.
acronyms. Yuba is a word.
It's a word. It feels like a
Right.
word, and
Easier
you
to
get
remember.
to make the best puns with it.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it just really
That's true.
works in so many settings.
Easy.
But yeah, so I mean, there's a bazillion more stats and things you can read about in the report, but I really appreciate you inviting me on to chat on the show and talk through some of these big ones because I think, what we're seeing that these security leaders are grappling with is really a glimpse into their whole world of like, of course they're worried about their tooling. Of course they're worried about innovation. Of course they're worried about AI. Everyone is like,
Yeah.
surprise, surprise, like this is what
Completely
we're all
universal
grappling
problem.
with. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
fear-based selling, it's never going to stop, right?
Stop the FUD.
But the fear is real though. It's out there.
It's
All,
not fear when it's real. Thanks, Adam.
yeah.
I feel so much better. What
Yeah.
a great.
Yeah. Good closing
Yeah.
sentiment there. But no, thank you, Zoe. Thanks for jumping in. Really appreciate it. David, thanks for the time. And we'll look forward to seeing everyone on future episodes.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.